Hello, I'm 8mm Mauser Man. Today I'm going to be reviewing the 168 grain boat tail hollow point from Ammo Inc. It is a 7.62 by 51mm round, and you might be asking a very valid question, which is, why? Well, there are two main reasons why I am reviewing this ammo. One, it is different than the 150 grain FMJ round that we have looked at previously, and two, I have a rifle, actually two rifles, that are chambered in 7.62 by 51mm. Now, it is generally accepted, although there is some different opinions there, that you should not make a habit of firing .308 ammunition out of a 7.62mm rifle. With some rifles, it's more okay than others, but particularly with these Enfields, I'm personally not comfortable with it. So, if I'm looking for a tactical or hunting ammunition for this gun, I'm limited to either military rounds or making my own reloads. Well, this is an actual 7.62 by 51mm round, not a .308 round. So I wanted to do some testing to see if this ammunition would be good. Because of that, I will be doing a gel test as a part of this video, but the first part of this video is going to be some chronograph testing and looking at some bullets and powder and those kinds of things as if I was testing a military surplus round. So let's get into that first. Alright, so I have the 168 grain Ammo Inc. ammunition. This is the boat tail hollow points. So we're going to see how this does through the chronograph. $2,687. 2,714. 2,673. 2,622. 2,650. 2,642. 2,621. 2,696. 2,693. 2,644. So that was our time on the range. Our velocity low was 2,621, our high was 2,714, and a spread of 93 feet per second from lowest to highest. Being that this is a hollow point round, you would expect it to be a little closer to like a match grade, but that is still a pretty wide margin for the velocity. In fact, as it is our second worst, our velocity average was 2,664. This is anywhere from 66 feet per second to 164 feet per second lower than all of our other rounds. But keep in mind that it is a 168 grain projectile as opposed to the standard 150. So honestly, it's not that much lower, and we would expect a slightly lower velocity. Now, this box is stamped Made in USA on the box, but the head stamp is marked SAR, which is a factory in Turkey. So presumably the brass and possibly even the bullets and powder were made overseas. However, the cartridge, at least the cartridge, is put together here in the States. I would bet that just the cases are made in Turkey and everything else is made in the States, but I'm not 100% certain. Here's the box for this ammunition. It comes in the same style of box as our 150 grain ammo. Now, right here it says 7.62, 168, boat tail hollow point, and then B120, I'm assuming that's brass 120. It's Ammo Inc., 7.62 by 51, all of that same ammunition is reprinted right here. Made in the USA with their website, and then the ballistic data gave a muzzle velocity of 2,650. Now, I got 2,665, so this is actually pretty accurate. But to be fair, the rifle I'm using did have a very long barrel, like a 24.5-inch barrel. So because of that, it is going to be pretty long right there. Then it has the California warnings, and there are really no other box markings anywhere on this box, except that on the bottom, it says that the box was made in the USA by Barry's Manufacturing. And then on the back, it just has another barcode. Now, this box comes zip-tied closed, as you can see right there. But I have one that I have already opened, so this one has some ammunition missing from it. They are just loosely packaged inside of here. And they do have a silica pack, which is pretty nice. So that'll just mean that any water that gets in here will hopefully get absorbed by this, rather than hitting these rounds. All right, so I have 3 different rounds here to compare. This top one is our round today, the Boat-tailed Hollow Point 168 grain. This one right here is a Lake City 145 grain, I think. And then this one is the Ammo Inc. 150 grain that we looked at not that long ago. So you can see that the 150 grain is a little bit shorter than their 168 grain, but the 168 grain actually matches the Lake City brass-cased round that is an actual military round. So because of that, this round should have no problem feeding in guns that are meant for your standard 7.62x51 military round. There's not really too much to talk about with this cartridge, except that you can see the hollow point right there. And then when you look at the backside, you can see the head stamp says SAR 18 and then 7.62x51. This is the exact same head stamp as our 150 grain round. Our bullet weight low is 167.9 grains, and our high is 168.2 grains. That leads to a spread of 0.3 grains from the lowest to the highest bullet, and this is actually the tightest bullet weight that we have measured so far in this series. The next closest is 0.5 grains. Now, as for why this is a hollow point bullet, typically, military ammunition that is hollow point is not meant for expansion, but instead for precision or accuracy. I'm not a whole expert in why that all works together. However, I did find a video on this that I found really helpful, so I will put that in a chapter card, and in the description, I'll give a link to that YouTube video so that you can find that if you would like to learn more about that. But just know, this ammunition is not necessarily made to expand. However, it did expand in my experience, but it is made to be more precise than a Full Metal Jacket round. One of the things that can make these hollow point rounds more accurate is their flat base, because there's usually one flat opening and then the round is filled with lead. So instead of having the open base on the back, they have an open base on the front, right there. I cut this round to the cross-section of where the lead was filled so you can see how big the pocket of open space is. And then I'll give you a look inside of there. It is flat where the lead is filled to. You can also see that the bullet is just a little bit longer than our 150 grain round that is below it. It also doesn't have any crimp or anything like that on the bullet itself, so it's just being held in by the crimped case, and then there is a little bit of sealant that goes around the outside. That is what that darker color is right there. The powder weight goes from 41.4 grains to 42.3 grains. That leads to a spread of 0.9 grains from the lowest one to the highest one, and an average of 41.8 grains. The Ammo Inc. ammunition we tested last time was at 42.08 grains, so presumably this ammunition was measured to the same specification, but just different lots did produce slightly different numbers. This is the same ball and disc powder that we saw previously with 150 grain round, so presumably they're using the exact same powder for both loadings. So, I would like to use this rifle to hunt at some point. This is an Ishapur 2A1. Now, in the state that I live in, it is illegal to shoot deer with FMJ for good reason. It's not as lethal as some other rounds. So instead you're supposed to use a soft point, or in this instance, a hollow point. And that's what I am going to test today. Because there is a question that is completely unrelated from is it legal? And that is it ethical? Will you ethically be able to kill a deer with a 7.62 hollow point? So what I have today is a ballistic gel block, and I'm going to test the expansion of this hollow point and see. It's probably going to go through, but we're just going to test this today and see how it does. Now there's already a few shots in here. They're all along the left side of the block. I'm going to shoot on the right side of the block, and then I'll try and get it to you from a top-down view so that you can see how it looks. Judging by my table breaking and the massive explosion inside of this block, I'm gonna say it was pretty effective. And you can actually see the round is still in here. So when I get home, I'll cut this and pull it out, and I'll let you take a look. These are the pieces I pulled out of the ballistic gel block. This is the base of the copper jacket, and then this is the point right there. But the rest of these rounds are just kind of pieces of jacket or lead or jacket stuck in lead that I managed to pull out of it. Well, as you saw from the damage to my table, the effectiveness of this round was what I would describe as devastating. Although the maximum penetration was about 14 inches and the mass of the damage was somewhere between 8 and 12 inches, I still think this round was quite effective at what it was doing. If that was the lung of a white-tailed deer or a bad guy, I think that that bad guy or that white-tailed deer would not be moving for very much longer. Now, as I said, this round is not intended to be an expanding projectile. It's not intended to be used for hunting. It's intended to have increased accuracy as compared to a standard FMJ round. But in my experience with this test, and granted my test is limited, I think this round expanded quite well and had a fair amount of stopping power. Anybody on here has experience with hunting with this type of round, I would be interested to hear your perspective on what this would have done in that type of setting. Now, presently, I don't do much accuracy testing with military surplus ammo or ammunition I'm reviewing, other than close-range pistol ammo, because in my perspective, the accuracy testing would be more telling of me as a shooter than the actual ammunition. I'm still learning how to shoot well and learning how to shoot with accuracy and precision, and so I just don't think that that data would be very effective for you. But because I felt like it might add something to the context of this video, I did accuracy test this ammunition as compared to the FMJ round that I've tested previously from this brand. And what I got was with the FMJ round, a 6-inch group, and then with this hollow point ammunition, a 3.5-inch group. Now, I would note that I moved to a more stable platform for the hollow point rounds after I fired the first shot. I leaned forward a little bit, put my elbows down on the table, and that helped me quite a bit. So I think this is more indicative of me as the shooter than the actual round, but I wanted to tell you that data anyway. So I think for range type use, this ammunition, if you're set on using a hollow point, is perfectly good to go. If you're interested on picking some up and testing it in your rifle, try it. Tell me how accurately it compares to some other ammunitions. I'd just be interested to hear in that. So range time ammunition, this is perfect. However, if you're planning on taking this ammunition for hunting, or if you're planning on using this ammunition for tactical or defensive purposes, that's where I don't quite feel like I have the full expertise to tell you. I would like to hunt. In fact, I would like to use this rifle to hunt, and I personally think I would feel comfortable using this ammunition, judging from the ballistic performance of it. It is legal in my state. It had a good amount of stopping power if it would have hit the area you were trying to hit on a deer, and I believe it was accurate enough. Now, going into tactical use, that is where I really step outside of my comfort zone, because it goes less from can you effectively kill a deer to can you effectively stop someone from killing you or those you love. So I am going to provide some feedback here, but take it tentatively. So here's what I would say. Because I experienced acceptable accuracy, good performance on the intended target, and because this ammunition was reliable in the guns that I tested it in, if I am in such dire straits that I am jumping to this rifle for defense, this is the ammunition that will be loaded inside of it. Now, this is not my first rifle to go to for defense, but this is one that if I had to use a bolt action, this is probably the one that I would end up going to. Is that right for you? Well, that is where you need to be the judge. In any case, I am 8mm Mauser Man, and I broke my table with a ballistic gel block, but I lived on.
Which proves it's hard to get the best of a man named John. John.